Hi, Mick McQuaid here to welcome you to iste798 Informatics for City Sciences. We had a, from my perspective, catastrophic web conference today on Blue Jeans. I couldn't hear anybody, and that kind of put my plan for welcoming you into chaos. And so I thought I would just do a short video to welcome you and to go over some of the things that I said, some of my introductory remarks that I made that may have been lost in the chaos today. So the first thing is, who am I? I got my PhD in 2003 at University of Arizona. My dissertation topic was on the impact of information visualization on situation awareness. And since then I've done a postdoc at Carnegie Mellon and taught at Michigan and Oregon and now at RIT. And I have, I'm a family man. I have two adorable children. You'll undoubtedly see pictures of them later. I'll try not to burden you too much with that, but I enjoy showing them off. And now I'd like to say a few words of course introduction. So the course is a mix of practical and theoretical information and a mix of technical and conceptual information. Those sort of go together. And I would like to get a feel for your slant, for the particular way that you like to approach topics. So the course can be divided into 7 parts, but the first 2 parts, the first part will happen before we meet, and then we'll meet during the second part of the course. So the first part, I've taken the approach in the videos of being very technical, and the second part, I've taken the approach in the videos of being very conceptual. And so when we get together, I want to know which approach is more comfortable for you, because the topics are set, but the approach is flexible. And big topics like these, the topics that we're covering in this course, admit a lot of different kinds of emphasis. So keep that in mind as you watch the first videos. Now I'd like to go over a few details. The syllabus is the outline of my plan, and I take the syllabus very seriously, so I hope you will too. My courses is both a tool and a repository. The main tool aspect of my courses is the discussions tool, and I hope to use the discussions tool for all but one of the homeworks, as well as for an introduction to you and hopefully a bit to your capstones. I expect to use Dubai as a resource. For example, the Dubai Data Classification Network is an example of a Smart Cities initiative that is highly relevant to this class. I expect to use the web as a resource, and I'll share URLs with you as I expect that you will with me. And expect to use YouTube as a resource. Probably you're watching this on YouTube right now. Okay, and then I'd like to ask you something that's not in the discussion introduction little blurb there, but something that I was going to ask you interactively in our web conference and wasn't able to, is how has IT figured in the curriculum so far? So let me add that to the introduction that I'm hoping to get from you in the discussions. How has IT figured in the curriculum so far? Where have you seen it? What kinds of questions have been settled or raised that are not settled about IT in the courses that you've taken so far? And that's a good segue into talking about information technology. So a lot of information technology can be taken for granted. So there are a lot of things that we would cover in an introductory course that we won't cover in this course. But there are a lot of technology issues that bear on this course, and some contemporary issues that we can't ignore. And I'll just give you some examples from the headlines. One headline I saw recently was Smart City fined by FCC for Wi-Fi blocking. So Smart City is actually, there's actually a company called Smart City, and they were fined by the U.S. government for blocking people's Wi-Fi, and that raises a lot of interesting issues. Another one was smartwatches are dying because they are worthless. So there's all kinds of new technology that's rising and falling and coming and going, and we want to know what's what. We want to know what the condition is of new technologies and what the prospects are for new technologies. And when obviously pundits get a lot more clicks if they in fact, it's called clickbait to put out a title like that. Smart watches are dying because they are worthless. That's certainly clickbait, but there might be a grain of truth in it, and we want to know about things like that. Another one is academia only studies weird, and this headline has an acronym in it. WEIRD, W-E-I-R-D, is an acronym that stands for Western Educated, Industrial, Rich, and Democratic, and that represents only 14% of humanity. So there's a problem that a lot of the academic information that I rely on is primarily derived from studies of this 14%, which may not include a lot of smart cities. And so we know that although this information is valuable, we have to take it with a grain of salt. Okay, then after this brief touch on technology, I wanted to talk about your capstones. And again, I hope that you'll do that in the discussion section in my courses. Then I'd like to say a little bit about the topics. So we expect to spend 3 days on the Internet of Things, 3 days on environmental sensing in the city, 3 days on big data, 2 days on wearables, 3 days on data visualization, 3 days on user experience, and 1 day on GIS, for a total of 18 days that we'll have together. And I'd like to say a little bit about each one of those, just a sentence or two. So when it comes to the Internet of Things, we have basically 3 areas to talk about. One is devices, one is networks, and one is the differences between the Internet as we know it, that is the Internet of computers, which wasn't working too well today, and the Internet of Things. What are the differences between those two? Then next, environmental sensing, and I've chosen to take a very conceptual look at this. So rather than a survey of devices, what you're getting in the readings and on the video is more about signal and noise, awareness, information, and attention. Then with big data, but when we meet, we'll actually talk about examples of environmental sensing in the city. For big data, we have technologies and issues that need to be explored, and the same for wearables, technologies and issues that we need to explore. Data visualization is the one topic in the class where you've been asked to, if you look at the learning outcomes in the syllabus for the class, you're actually asked to be able to do something rather than to know something. So in the case of data visualization, I'll be teaching you to read data visualizations and how to do data visualizations, albeit at a light level, and you'll do one short project in data visualization. Then next is user experience, which is a key issue now, and we'll just look at where user experience stands in the technology life cycle. It used to be the case that it could be treated very late, or I shouldn't say it could be, it was treated very late in the technology life cycle. And our contemporary understanding is that it should be treated much earlier, and that means that people like you need to get involved in it, and people like you need to think about user experience throughout the technology life cycle and how to integrate your understanding of it into the infrastructure of a smart city. And then finally, we'll spend a day on GIS. We'll just talk about its capabilities and limitations. And that's pretty much it. After that, I'd planned to go to Q&A, which again, we can't do because of our problem with Blue Jeans. Hopefully we'll be able to have better web conferencing in the future. I don't know. ASA offered to collect questions that might be appropriate for Q&A. I haven't seen those yet, so when I do, I'll figure out the appropriate forum, whether it's another video or a discussion in my courses or whatever, to answer those questions. So I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope we'll have a great course together. Thanks.